Welcome to JPL Orange Cuisine, and today I'm looking at cola, specifically 6 different types of cola that I tried to see which one was the bestest. So this is a McQuestest for the McBestest Cola. So the first thing I tried was Hill Country Fair Cola, this is a generic like HEB brand. Like HEB has the original cola, but Hill Country Fair is like an even more generic one. It's really affordable. It's 99 cents for an entire 2 liter. And, this is actually something that I buy a lot of just because to me it tastes good enough. Bottoms up, I like it. Nothing fancy. But I don't really need anything fancy. I just need cola. And it gets the job done, Also, one of the things I tried with all these colas was that I tried it with some grenadine, because sometimes I do this instead of buying cherry Coke. I might have a thing of grenadine around, and grenadine can be a little pricey, but you don't need very much of it to mix with cola to make like a homemade cherry Coke. You really only need like about a tablespoon. You really only need about a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons at most. I don't even bother measuring. I just put like a little splash in there and then just add in some. And, for the Hill Country Fair, adding some grenadine for a homemade cherry Coke, it tastes really good, It's a tasty beverage. So, for the HEB Original Cola, I found this to be a pretty decent cola. It does taste like slightly better than the Hill Country Fair. It's $1 was 78 cents, so it's not quite double the price of the Hill Country Fair, but it is noticeably more expensive. And to me, it does taste better than the Hill Country Fair, but I don't think it justifies almost double the price. I don't think it's that much better. I think it's just kind of, a little bit better. But just like with the Hill Country Fair, I tried putting a little bit of grenadine in there, making a homemade cherry Coke with the HEB Original. And this turned out to be pretty tasty. I thought that this was good. It didn't really taste better than the Hill Country Fair, homemade cherry Coke, though. I think the grenadine's a pretty strong flavor, and so, when you got it in there with cola, I don't think that, I think it kind of takes away from the slightly better quality taste that you might get with something more expensive. In other words, you're tasting more of the cherry grenadine and less of the cola. So, but I wouldn't call it bad. It's still pretty tasty. So now it's time for, of course, the classic Coca-Cola Original Classic Cola. Coca-Cola Classic Cola. I'm not sure I can say that 5 times fast, but I could try maybe someday. In any case, this is the one thing I do like about Coca-Cola is that it always, it's a very reliable taste. Anywhere you go, you buy Coca-Cola, it tastes like Coke everywhere. Because sometimes if you're traveling and you're not near an HEB or your normal grocery store, you don't get like a generic brand there. There does seem to be maybe some subtle differences between them. Although someone did tell me once that all the generic cola brands actually come from the same spot, but to me sometimes they taste just subtly different in some ways. But Coca-Cola has a good taste. Now, it is a lot more expensive because it's like a $2 with 74 cents for a 2 liter, which compared to, like the cheapest cola that was 99 cents for a 2 liter, this is remarkably more expensive. But it is a classic taste. It is, the original, and there's something to be said for that. And, you can, of course, buy a cherry Coke, but if you want to make one of these homemade ones, because, I just want to do an apples-to-apples comparison here, so I did, the grenadine with the cola. This does turn out well, but much like with the HEB Original Cola, I noticed that it didn't taste much better than the cheaper cola when you mix it with the grenadine. And so I wouldn't call it bad, but it's just, the advantage of buying Coca-Cola is tasting the cola, not mixing with something. So even though you can do this, I think this works better with the cheaper cola. It just seems more cost-effective that way. But that's just my opinion, I suppose. But yeah, Coca-Cola, pretty good taste. Now, I don't normally drink Pepsi. I mean, it does taste different than regular cola to me. It has more of like a bright, sweet taste. And as I've gotten older, like when I was a kid, I actually drank a lot of Pepsi. And now that I'm sort of like middle-aged, I just don't drink it a lot because to me, I like Coca-Cola that's slightly, to me, it tastes a little less sweet. It's just a personal preference thing, though. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with Pepsi. Just for the sake of completeness, I did go ahead and try this, just to be fair and give everything a shot. And, much to my surprise, I still didn't like it. But, that's okay. It's no big deal. And I did try mixing Pepsi with a little bit of grenadine, just, for funsies. And it does taste pretty good, But it's still, to me, it still has that Pepsi taste. So I guess my personal palate is that this just is not a combination for me. But if it's your thing, I mean, it's okay to be Pepsi people or a Pepsi person, or I don't know how it's referred to. But that's that. Now, the Maine Root Cola is, of course, 4 bottles instead of 2 liters. And so you actually end up getting less cola. But this is a Mexican cola, which means, if I'm not mistaken, it's made with sugar cane instead of high fructose corn syrup. So it does have a substantially different taste. And I actually ended up really liking this a lot. Like, really, really, I've had this before. In fact, I buy this every now and then for special occasions over the years. I'll talk more about it in the conclusion section, but to me, this is actually something I buy during the summer, just because if I've been working outside or in the garage or something, back when I had a garage, I used to buy this and just have like one cola at the end of the day. And there's something about drinking from a glass bottle during the summertime on a hot day, just kind of is nice. Of course, I poured it out here because I wanted it to be equal to the 2 liters and such. But the Maine Root has a very unique taste. I do like it quite a lot. It is much more expensive, and it's subjective whether it's worth it or not. But this is a good cola to have on occasion. It's just not the most cost-effective or affordable compared to the others. Now, I also, again, just like with the other flavors and combinations, I put some grenadine in a glass and, poured in some of this cola to make a homemade cherry Coke. And this did taste very good, but, again, anytime I make a cherry cola, it's like, to me, it tastes the same, whether it's Maine Cola. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It does taste slightly different. It's just that I just don't think that you're getting the benefits of tasting the high-quality cola when you mix it with grenadine. But yeah, Maine Root, pretty good. Now, the last cola that I tried was Mexican Coke, and this is much like with the Maine Root. It comes in a pack of 4 bottles, and they call it Mexican Coke because for a long time, Coke in America, at least my understanding of it, is that it was, they changed over to high fructose corn syrup, but they kept making Coca-Cola in Mexico with cane sugar. And so commonly what they call Mexican Coke here is really, it's an older formula that still uses cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. So it is a lot more expensive. It does taste a bit better, in my opinion. When I was younger, I used to love trying to find this because it seems like it's easier to find these days as opposed to, say, about 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, I don't know if it was psychological or because of my taste buds, but this Mexican cola tasted like just absolute magic back in the day. And but these days, it doesn't actually taste that different to me than regular Coca-Cola. I can notice a difference between this and, say, the Hill Country or like the HEB brands, but comparing this to like Coca-Cola Classic made with high fructose corn syrup, it doesn't taste as different as I remember it tasting. It's quite peculiar, but I would say it's quite good. Just like with all the others, of course, I also tried it with some grenadine for a homemade cherry Coke, and I did like that too. But just like with all the other combinations, adding that grenadine means I'm tasting more of the mix and less of the cola. But again, just my opinion, and anyway, it is interesting, I think, to try this because the old cane sugar recipe, I think, is like the traditional way that Coke has been made in the past. And if for any reason, I think it's worth trying just for that. But yeah, just my opinion, I suppose. So now it's time for a cost comparison. So how do these all stack up against each other? So the Hill Country Fare is, in my opinion, pretty difficult to beat. I mean, it's 99 cents for 2 liters. That means that the price per fluid ounce is about a penny. Looking at the calories, it's 1,020 calories for 99 cents, which means you're effectively getting, like, the ratio there is 1,030 calories per dollar. I get 6 drinks out of it, so the price per drink ends up being 17 cents. It's clearly the best value, and in my opinion, it's actually really the better taste in a lot of ways. So the HEB Original Cola, of course, costs $1.78. So it ends up costing about 3 cents per fluid ounce. It's the same calories as the Hill Country Fare, but the price per calorie, or the calories per dollar rather, is $5.73 instead of over 1,000. So it ends up being about 30 cents per drink, which, marketably more expensive. My opinion is that I don't think the HEB Original Cola is really worth it. I think that the Hill Country Fare is actually like almost as good for less than, well, actually I guess not less than, but about half the price basically. So I mean you're getting a discount. So the Coca-Cola Classic, it's $2.74. Higher price per fluid ounce being 4 cents per fluid ounce. The calories are higher here, but the calories per dollar is actually less because it's much more expensive. For all these 2 liters, I get about 6 drinks out of them, so the price per drink is much higher. It is good quality, but much like with the HEB Original Cola, I really get the feeling that Coca-Cola just is not really worth it for me to buy. I'd rather buy the generic brand. Coca-Cola Classic is something that I would have in stock if I had a friend or company coming over and I knew that they preferred that. I mean, it's certainly not unaffordable at $2.74, but maybe I'm just being cost conscious here. I'd rather just buy the cheaper brand of cola if I can. Now the Pepsi Cola was $2.64. Comes out about to being about the same cost as Coca-Cola. The nutrition facts on the back indicate that it's fewer calories. So actually, in a way, if you were say on a diet or something, you might want to consider Pepsi because it does seem to have fewer calories than Coca-Cola. So I mean, there's that. It ends up being, again, commensurate with cost for Coca-Cola. And to me, I don't like Pepsi. I'm just not, the taste to me is just not what I want. But again, if I had, company coming over and I knew that they like Pepsi, it's easy enough to stock. Other than that, I just don't think that it's worth it, Now, the Maine Root Mexican Cola to me is probably like the one cola that had a very unique taste. And while it is very expensive, I can see buying this on special occasions. And the Mexican Coke, of course, is more expensive than that. In fact, it's the most expensive option of all. And, it's very good, but if I had to choose between the Mexican Cola and the Maine Root Mexican Cola, I would choose the Maine Root because I do think that it does taste certainly more unique. I do think it tastes kind of better. So one of the things I wanted to add to the conclusions here is that the Mexican Cola coming in the glass bottles is something that for me, I buy them on occasion during the summer. And the reason why is that, not to make this, TMI or anything, but I'm coming up on about 14 years of being sober. And one of the things I used to do back when I was still drinking was that at the end of a hot day, if I was working outside or I was, working in a garage or something, I would have a beer in a bottle, while sitting outside while the sun was going down. And it just became kind of a habit. And when I was trying to quit drinking, it was very difficult to break that one particular habit, that end of the long summer day beer. And so I tried drinking something different. And what I noticed was that for some reason, I don't know, it's like the psychology of it. In my brain, I actually kind of needed to drink something from like a bottle, like drinking a craft soda, like I think there's Jones Soda or something like that. I bought that for a while. But buying a Maine Root Mexican Cola or the Mexican Coke and drinking that from a bottle sort of seemed to it was kind of close enough that it tricked my mind into thinking I was drinking like I always did. But I wasn't drinking a beer, I was drinking a soda. And so that is a factor that I think, if it helps you to, not drink beer. I mean, it is more expensive than regular soda, but I haven't bought a beer in a long time, but I hear it's really expensive compared to soda. So, I mean, it's totally a viable option that, if you want to give that a try, you go ahead and do that, because that did work for me. That helped me. But in any case, independent of that, the Maine Cola does seem like something that it is something that I buy on occasion. If I'm having a steak, I have steak just a few times a year, because for me it's like a delicacy basically. And when I do that, I might buy a Maine Root soda because I'll have put together a pretty nice meal once in a while for myself, treat myself once in a while. But to me, the Hill Country Fare Cola is my go-to cola. It's at 99 cents. It's hard to beat that value. The other options taste better, but most of them don't taste that much better. I don't think it's worth spending up to 6 times as much for the something that tastes just a little bit better. I don't think that the difference in quality is that much. even though I might occasionally treat myself. So those are my conclusions of the different colas that I tried. I guess that's really all I have to say. So I'd like to say thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos from Jacques Pierre Cuisine. Video over!